As Richard Branson once famously said, clients do not come first, employees come first. If you take care of your employees, they will take care of the clients. In today's episode of The Leadership Project, I'm joined by Rasmus Holst, CEO of Zensai, an organisation that is redefining human resources as human success. Zensai's approach challenges us to think differently about human resources, about leadership, and about growth. Get ready for a conversation that will inspire you to rethink how you lead, how you connect with your people, and how you define success in your life and your organisation. Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Leadership Project. I'm greatly honoured today to be joined by Rasmus Holst. Rasmus is the CEO of an organisation called Zensai, who is putting together what they call a human success platform around a theme of learn, perform, engage. And these words have already got me captivated about what this means. What is human success and how do we develop it in our people for greater success of them, greater success of the people, greater success of everyone? So I think this is going to be a wonderful conversation and I'm dying to get into it. So without any further ado, Rasmus, I would love it if you would say hello to the audience and tell us a little flavour of your very interesting background, but what inspired this work around the human success platform?
First and foremost, thank you for having me on, Mick. It's an absolute privilege to be on the podcast. So one of the things you can say, it's always difficult. You need to find a genesis for what inspires you to do what you do today. I grew up in rural Denmark. I always had this ambition to be out in the world and about, and my life has taken me to more than 100 countries. It's taken me to have my family live in Luxembourg and in San Francisco, and now coming back to Denmark. It's had me work with all of the big revolutions we've had. I did internet billing systems at the beginning. I've done mobile systems when mobile was the big thing. And now we're then in an AI revolution. But the one thing that stays true across all of this, I've been in cybersecurity, I should say, but the one thing that stays true in all of this is that it's people who've made my journey. It's people who've made the products I've been part of building. It's people who I remember who've been part of building the way I got to be who I am today. And therefore, as we build a platform, we didn't just want to build something which is one more learning platform that sits in a market that's a lot congested and all this. We actually went back to first principles and thought about human resources as a thing. Either it depends on who you talk to. Either it's old Roman from Roman warfare and how you actually counted people and put them in battalions and whatever have you, or it's an industrial age kind of phrase. And still today, where we've added mobile, we've added internet, we've added AI, we've added all of these types of things, and we tout that as great revolutions, and we build Gartner hype curves and all of those kind of things. And I've also seen a few of those hype curves never make it. We haven't really involved how we think about our teams for many, many years. So the way we see it and the way we try to explain it and what inspired us to do this is essentially human resources as a word. And just think about how we think about resources in like how we use the environment and stuff like that. Resources is something we use, it's something we throw away. And that's how we describe our colleagues. Then we try to add like kombucha and pizza and call it people and culture. And I'm not sure that really helped because the system was still the same. We count a lot of people, they have some skills, and then that's kind of how we see everyone. And the reason why it chose like human success as a headline was it has two things in it. It has a soft element, which is human, and it has a fairly hard master element in it, which is success. And we already saw this movement with customers. Today in SaaS, we will talk about customers as customer success. And we were made wonder, why, if I'm your customer, are you invested in my success? And you're invested in me being successful from your product. Whereas if I join your organization and I'm your employee, you go, you're a resource. It has two different meanings. And I can't see why it shouldn't be hey, we want to build human success in our organizations. And it basically is similar to what you saw happening with the customer success and Gainsight and Zendesk and those who were all pioneers, Salesforce, who were pioneers there, is that all of a sudden it became, if we start with the customer being successful, we will be successful as an organization. So think about that. So many leadership things is just, let me push some KPIs on the team and see what comes out. What if we flipped the script and said, what if our team members are successful? Whether they stay with us or whether they join another organization and become a VP or SVP or CEO of another organization and say, thank you for what I learned. I was the best I could be with your organization. I showed up every day. I got better. I learned. I performed, all of those types of things. And now I'm moving on. Or they stay with us for 10 years. The ambition really is that you build this bottoms up by everyone coming to work with a view that they want to be the best version of themselves, because that's the real sad truth of the workplace today. It doesn't matter if you take a McKinsey survey, a Gartner survey, or whatever, 2 out of 3 are not happy at work, which means you're not building a mission, or you're not building something that they can see themselves thrive in. Or then the employees will complain, I don't have promotion. That's because you just see it as the company. Be willing to create super fans who move on to different organizations, but will still talk greatly about your company. Look, that's what we do with customers. We love the person who bought our product one place, who moved on to the next place, is then the evangelist for your product there. And the same thing happens with people. We have people at the baseline of it, and that's how we want to succeed, I think.
Yeah, brilliant, Rasmus. Thank you. That's a wonderful start to this conversation. And I got to tell you that a lot of what you're saying is resonating with me very loudly. First of all, that all businesses are people businesses. And if you don't understand people, you don't understand business. And that's still the case today.
Is that a Simon Sinek, I think?
It is indeed. And here we are, like in the AI revolution, that's still going to be the case. We're still, it's going to be how we use AI to augment the human experience and the human success, but it's not going to replace the heart of our business is the human beings. And
that's exactly our point. There's so much which is essentially about AI replacing humans, right? And mundane tasks and all of that. But until we get to the day where I'm hopefully not in the workforce anymore, where AI bots manage AI bots who build software by AI bots and all of that, and it's AI bot procurements that buys from AI sellers. Until that ever becomes a reality, which I actually don't believe in, we will have to manage this gap between AI and humans. And I think right now, if you talk only technology, there's a massive hype on the AI side. I think if you talk to people, there's a fear also of, is this going to take away my marketing writing job? Is this going to take away 10 of our coding jobs? All of those types of things in the future. And only if you allow people to embrace how are we using this technology, as whether you're the employee looking at this going, oh, is this a risk for me? Or whether you're a CEO looking at this going, how can I make my business more efficient? You still need to glue together that amazing technology that we're getting access to with people wanting to be successful in your organization and wanting to do the best thing for your organization. So we think human success together with AI actually puts a lot of the right things in place. Also as a leadership methodology where you instead start to think about how do we make the team members most successful and they contribute to the organization rather than the organization forcing KPIs, technology, all of that into the organization.
Yeah, I'm loving the reframing, Rasmus. I'll play back some of the other things I was taking away there. When you say human resource, we've used that term for decades, and it makes me feel like a number. It makes me feel like I'm a tool that's going to be used to the company's end, that I could be just anyone. You're also right that we've had a bit of a pivot in the last decade or so where people started to go, oh, we've got to put our customer first was the first language. Customer centricity was the next language, which was important, but then it was customer success. It was if we make our customer successful, we in turn will be successful. But how are we successful? We're successful through our people. Not at the expense of our people, but through our people. And one of the quotes, I can't remember who said this one, maybe you can remember, that you should treat your people like they're your most valuable customer, and then they will in turn treat your customers in the right way. How does
It's a Richard Branson one.
that's a Richard Branson one? Okay, there you go.
He says, don't. What is it? Don't treat your customers well. Treat your employees well, and they will take care of your customers for you.
There you go. Yeah, cool.
Something like it's in that frame. It's close enough.
Yeah, love it. All right, so I love the term. Let's unpack it one step further. What does success mean to you, Rasmus? When you say success and we say human success, what does that mean?
So if I now first start with my role as a CEO, and then I can take it as Rasmus. So I think that what, again, giving you the similarity with customer success, what that gave us was an output number of an NRR, net revenue retention, which is essentially a forward multiple of how good is your business at retaining revenue, upselling your customers, and all of that. I.e., how does your business deliver better performance? And it's a predictor for future performance. What we've struggled with for years is to find future performance of organizations. Because you're always going, if I was asked by a venture capital fund or private equity fund or anything to review my business, they would very clearly ask me about, hey, what is your NRR? What is your annual recurring revenue? All of those metrics that are financial. And especially NRR, they would ask because then they know, are we able to, do we have a roadmap where we can upsell them? Just think about that. That's learning. That's how you build additional value. If I did nothing to my product for 5 years, what is worth 100 today would definitely be worth like 10 or 15 in 5 years. But they never asked me about my people. And then if you take the next one, right, then you ask about adoption and engagement for the product. So if you've sold to 1,000 customers, how many use it on a daily basis? There's MAU, DAU, all of those things. And you go, only 20. They would go, I'm never going to invest in your business. I'm happy you sold the licenses, but if nobody uses it, you're going to be out of business at some point. But nobody asks me who shows up every day at the organization. And it's 70% of my cost, right? I don't get these questions. And it's the biggest predictor for whether I will be successful, because my last questions to many of these, the VCs and investors are, what would you rather invest in? A mediocre product with a super engaged team, or a really great product with an unengaged team? And they will, of course, answer, yeah, but I can change some of the team and all of that. But really put to the point, most would invest in the team. So what we're thinking human success is from a CEO perspective is, if you now take the same metrics, the roadmap is your learning. Right? It's how much value, how much information do you put into, how much skill do you put into your organization for a future predictor. The other thing is, how engaged are they? How do they show up every day? How do they influence the organization? How do they actually push the organization to do something? And then how do they perform against goals? Because if you have all of those three, and only if you have all of those three, you actually can start to predict the future of how your business is going to go. And I'll give you one last example of where we found inspiration in this. But those are the three things. And interestingly, if you take one of those out, you have a different situation. So if you have somebody who's learning and not engaged, but not who's learning and engaged but not performing, either you have some sort of, the goal setting is not right. Maybe they have a manager issue. Maybe they have an execution issue. Maybe they're just learning for themselves, but they like the mission, but they don't really know how to navigate the organization and are not effective. If you take somebody who's performing really well and learning really well, but they're not engaged, they're out looking for a new job. They've come to the top of that, and then you know they're looking for either promotion inside or wanting to go outside. So the interesting part about this is, it's true if all things are there that it will be good, but if you take out one, you have a very, very different situation with the team member. And the last inspiration we actually have from it, or from a very different side of things, is if you think about Strava or Garmin. The one thing that very good runners can do, or cyclists, or whoever uses these types of applications, if you train, that's great, and you will be in better shape, and you may feel more happy, and you'll enjoy nature and all those types of things. If you train consistently, so if you now learn and engage, The one thing you get out of that, whether people run a 4-hour marathon, a 2-hour marathon, or a 6-hour marathon, if you do your training, you show up every time you ask yourself to show up. The one thing that everyone, regardless of level, have in common is that they can predict their performance. They can actually tell you, I'm going to run a 4-hour marathon. And with deviations, it might be too hot, it might be too cold, you might drink some wrong water. They will be within 10%. And no business can actually do that today. There is no future predictor for that. And then you go, yeah, but Rasmus, is that going to be very, very scientific? No, but it's going to be something where you have a weekly measurement that comes in from the organization, because everyone who trains will also know, don't take your measurement on the 12th of October and think that that's your shape for the whole year. It is not. And that's what we do with these workplace surveys, where we once every year, then we go, oh, everyone engaged, and you put it right after your salary negotiate or the salary upgrades or whatever. So everyone goes, yeah, I'm super engaged. I got a 4% raise or whatever, or 10% raise or anything, right? So you put it strategically in the year so you get a good result, because that's what you want as a leader. But if you do it every week, similar to your running, if you didn't put the work in, if you didn't measure it, it doesn't actually matter if the score is like 100, it's a 0 to 100 score line. You know that if it drops below 80, you're starting to go, oh, this is not good.
Yeah.
Right? We'll need to take action.
Yeah, really good, Rasmus. I think forecasting is a huge issue in many businesses. It's very hard to get it within the level of accuracy that you want. The other one that I'm picking up on here with the Strava example or the Garmin example is it also gamifies it in a way that people want to beat yesterday. They want to beat themselves yesterday. They want to see those improvements, whether it's their VO2 max increasing or their run time per kilometer is reducing. It strives them for high performance as well. But yeah. I do love
and I'll give you a really crazy one, right? I've known my wife for more than 25 years. We've been married for 22. And it was much more delightful earlier on in life when we woke up and asked each other, how did you sleep? And we got a little story out of it and all those kind of things. And now both of us go 87 and 56. And you're like, okay, whatever comes out of that conversation, both of us knows that if somebody answers 87, that's really good. And if somebody answers 56, probably there was something they were thinking about, or they were not feeling well, all those kind of things. And you start to have this relativity, even in a very trusted relationship, where we could easily have taken the long way round in the morning. But hey, that's where we got to.
So I want to double down a little bit on the trifecta for a moment. Then I want to challenge a few things as well. To be clear, I'm on board, but I want to ask you a few challenging questions to bring a few messages home. So learn, perform, engage. I do really like it. It's something for us all to think about as we go around our businesses as leaders. Are we creating that environment for our people? Everyone wants to feel seen. Everyone wants to feel heard. Everyone wants to feel that they matter, and they want to engage in work that does matter. That's where some of that pride comes. Everyone wants opportunities to learn and grow. And you know what? No one comes to work each day wanting to do a bad job. They do want to perform. So learn, perform, engage. If we think about that trifecta, I think it's a really strong one. Let's get to some of the challenging questions. Everything that we're talking about, CEOs have been saying for a long time, people are our most valuable asset. There's that word asset/resource again, but people are our most important asset. It's our biggest resource. It's our biggest differentiator. And yet there's many companies out there where the actions don't match that rhetoric. They'll say that the people are the most important thing, but then when it comes to the crunch time of a decision, the decision doesn't seem to match the rhetoric. What's missing, Rasmus?
I think there are a few things missing. I think obviously in leadership theory, most of what you said is the conventional wisdom, right? That we can always add skills to the team. We can always do something different. Sometimes there are crunch times with salaries and all those types of things, and therefore you are forced to make decisions that will seem counterintuitive to human success. And that's a rationale of a business. The one thing you cannot, where I think that you should really think about how you execute your leadership is, I've never seen, and I think many companies do this, they see the trajectory of people they have as only in the company. I think the bar that you end up setting for a lot of team members and people wanting growth and all of that is that they go, oh, but I want to be a VP next year, or I want to be a director next year. And then I think most companies, I mean, certainly us, we're 210 people. We don't generate 15 VP positions next year. And that means you have to have a discussion with people of how do you get to VP level, not just for here, but for anywhere, and be happy for those people who move on. Because it is not just that, hey, I've joined this organization, I had parents for school teachers who were at the same school for 40 years. We will not do that. My kids will never do that. It's the effort you put in, and then it's the trajectory of moving to the next or the next. And that's what we as leaders should be much better at articulating. I have some people even on the executive team. I have my chief human success officer is probably one of the greater examples. She'd gone out and built her own business, which we bought back. It was small, it was successful to some point, but not where she wanted it to. I have no position for her over and above. She's a C-level, that's my position. But we very openly spoke about, hey, Nina, your ambition is to go back and be a CEO, maybe for something that's a little bit bigger than ValueBeat, that you founded yourself and you built the product, you were out selling, you were all of those types of things. And Nina should absolutely do that. And she comes into an environment where I say that openly to the rest of the team. And I go to my CFO and says, you need to teach her how to be the best possible CEO when she's done with this part of the journey. And as you do that, if I use conventional metric, I would tell her, you can never be CEO because that's me. If I take the human success approach where I make her show up every day, because the other part of human success is it doesn't come for free. And this is what many then also misinterpret. If you tell people they want to be a professional soccer player, but you tell them what they need to put in to be there, most people step out. That's the commitment you need from people. So when I tell her, you need to be you want to be a CEO, she now looks around and goes, oh, I can see that what our CFO does, I can definitely take to a business the same place. Our chief revenue officer, massive playbook, knows everything, scaled to 200 million. Oh, I can learn from her as well. And then sometimes we sit down and then we talk about the future role, and I go, so how do you think I feel in between the board and the executive team when we're not aligned? And she goes, oh, you're alone. Yeah. Is that what you want? And then we need to talk about that, because that's not one of those factors where if I would protect my job, I would just tell her, I'm not going to tell you, and then you figure it out and you go to the next level. By being open, I'm obviously also challenging my own position, but I also tell everyone here that I'm happy to be number 2, even though my title says something else. I'm happy to make her make the decisions on her turf, and I trust her and I question her instead. And if you as a leader can build that confidence into your leadership, I think you have the opportunity. Because on days where the business haven't performed and you're 50% below budget and all those kind of things, there are tough decisions, and they will probably not be human first, because they will mean that you'll lay off some team members and all that. And let's not say that will never happen again in human, because you call it human success. This will happen. There will be business decisions. There will be divisions you will sell off, or there will be M&A and new people coming in and all those types of things. But what you can do is to make sure that you uplift the team and you make sure that they have opportunity in the business or outside the business. And you start from where they want to go and you use their momentum. Because you will also, back to the Strava Garmin example, take these people who go out and run for the first time. I'll meet them on my run as well, and you will see them struggling, right? And they will be red-faced, and it will be hard, and it will be, and you can see I so want to do this. I have much more respect for them than the 65 kilo, 2 meter tall guy flying away, because that momentum you could absolutely use to build something incredible if you keep nurturing that person. If they continue, will be super, super fast at the end. The one who already has the pace, you just need to steer, and you need to find that extra second or 2 seconds. And that's the motivation that actually drives the business. That's showing up every day, being the best version of yourself.
Yeah, I love it, Rasmus. What I really love is the transparency and the honesty of that conversation that you're having. And two distinct chapters there that I was hearing is, what does it take to get to where you say you want to get to? So are you willing to put in the work to do what it takes to get there? And then a little bit of a reality swallow of what it's like when you get there, because it can be lonely when you get there, or it can be harder than you think it is. But here's the full, open, transparent. This is what you're asking. You're telling me you want to get to a certain position. This is what it takes to get there, and this is what it's like when you get there. The one I'd like to add is to also challenge, why do you want to get there? Because if they're only doing it for the job title or not doing it for the right reasons, they won't enjoy it when they get there.
Nope. That's a very good one. I know it's a very true thing. It's that, and I think that's our obligation, because a lot of people, and again, I was in Silicon Valley when there were crazy money 2021 and before, and you had SDRs come in straight out of school, work for 4 months, and then they would come back and go, I want to be a director of something and manage people. And there was enough money to go around in Silicon Valley that would happen. Like 6 months in, 24-year-old, you've only done outbound SDR jobs, and then you get promoted to manage people. And then you get to manage like 6 other 22-year-olds who have all the things in their lives that are going around. Every time you say, I want to be a manager, remember you're also responsible for all kinds of things in other people's lives that they will come and tell you. And reasons for them not performing at work. That can be, I know from my own history, my mother died fairly young, and I know that period I didn't do a good job at work, and I had to tell my CEO at the time, hey, whom I've known for a long time, so he knew about my family, all of that, and knew that would mean a lot to me. But that he also had to deal with, that he had a C-level who had a drop in productivity when he wanted something else. And I think especially when you have these youngsters who want to step up, we fail to tell them that that's what it is.
Yeah.
Right. And right now I'm lucky enough. I'm a version 5.0 or better. This means I've passed 50 years. But I have a lot of young founders who come and go, oh, we want to start this business, and how do I raise funds, and how should I think about it? And the same applies to that, right? When you get investors, expect that this is going to be very, very different. Pick the ones you can be with for a long time. It's a family relation. It's not a family relation because it's a slightly one-sided family relation, because there's somebody who has the money and will tell you some things and will ask you to do things if it doesn't go the right way. Pick the ones you can stay with for a long time. Pick them as if it was your family.
Yeah. Because
if there's another million in it to begin with, but you can't run in the long run, don't. It's then that spoils the journey.
Yeah, that's good advice too, Rasmus. And the two things I'm picking up there. I love the 5.0. I'm version 5.1, and I guarantee you that version 5.1 is a bit wiser than version 2.0. But anyway, that's
what we will say. Yeah, from the old ones that ship software on CDs and stuff like
that. But then what you're saying about picking the people that you're going to surround yourself with, you're going to spend up to a third of your life with these people. So you better be ready for that journey as well. All right, so one more challenge before we go on a bit of a pivot, and it is about the word balance, and we've touched on it a little bit as we've gone along, right? So you're telling us that human success is the answer, that we're going to invest in human success, and then the humans will look after the success of our customers, etc. And I'm fully prescribing to this, Rasmus. I'm completely committed. What I want to know is about the balance of when the tough decisions come. I'll give you a model that we talk about sometimes on this show, which is that we believe that there's 3 models of leadership. 3 dimensions of leadership: leading self, leading others, and leading the business. And there's going to be times where you have to make some pretty tough decisions. And you could you could be very human success oriented and make a decision that's wonderful for the people, but terrible for the business, or even terrible for yourself. Or you could make a really decision that's in the short term really good for the business, but it's at the detriment of the people. It's at the expense of the people. You with me? So like with all of this decision making, how do we make a decision that isn't at the expense of myself, isn't at the expense of the people, isn't at the expense of the business, but is a balanced decision that drives the company in the direction that we want to
go? I think when you start with human success, I've been in companies where I had 7 traits of leadership and 4 traits of self-leadership, and whenever asked about them, this is maybe a confession, I remembered 3 or 4. It's that empathy, excellence, doing something, and then you don't really remember, which means you will never live them. So the way we've thought about this, and as I said in the beginning, human and success are actually polar opposites. Human success is an outcome. Success is measuring yourself against something that has a value. Human is about showing up as a good human every day. So if you think about it this way, of the 2 of us now on a small team, who's responsible for being a good human on the show? We are. Right? But as who's responsible for this going well? And if I broke down, who would pick me up? You would, because you're a good human. So that's the same for the team. And that's showing up with compassion and everything every day. But also we want to have some listeners, because otherwise we've done this for the fun of it, and I would still enjoy that. But if we have 1 listener, is that success? Is 100 listeners success? Is it 100,000? Is it 1 million? Over time, if we only meet once and the outcome of this is 10, 50 or whatever, but if we consistently needed to do this and we needed to do it for a living, we also know what success is. Because we know that we need to get to 10,000 to make our living and pay everything and pay the studio and all of those types of things. And if you embrace those 2 and actually go the same way with success, who's responsible for the success of this episode? We are. Who's responsible for me showing up and being the best I can possibly be here? I am, and you are. So there's nobody in here who's not responsible for this outcome. And I think sometimes we make the outcome of things someone else's fault. And sometimes the market will collapse, but then success looks different. And if you're always able to articulate this in a human, meaning a compassionate, and a success, a very hard way, sometimes human will lose to success. Sometimes success will have to lose to human. I can give you one example from our own business where human won against success. We had, and what we would characterize as the founding development team was in Belarus when the war broke out. And obviously you can't have that, but these people, many of them had been with us for a long time. Then you have 2 options. Easiest business decision would be cut all ties. It has no cost. Find new developers, develop half of it with AI, and move on. That was not the decision we made, because they'd been with us for a long time. And then you could make the second interim decision, which was, we'll take the best ones and then we'll move them. Or you could make the one that's completely on the human side, which says, offer everyone relocation to a nation where they can actually live and add their families, so they can start a new life somewhere else if they believe that they would be better off outside of Belarus and in a context where they're still with the business. And we chose the latter. And then you can say, is that success in the moment? No, because it's going to cost us. We had to set up a Polish entity. We had none. Move 35 families, give them language education, all of that. It was certainly not an easy task, and it took a lot longer than we wanted to. So economically, that was not success. But human, in that case, won. What do you think is going to happen long term? We have all of the intellectual property. We have all of the people who believed in the business, who believed enough in the business to move with us to Poland, rip up their lives and do all of that. We promised we will pay for that, and we will upgrade your salaries to Polish salaries and all that. Who do you think will win in the long run?
The
We all win.
business, yeah, or everyone.
We all
Yeah,
win.
exactly.
Everyone wins, right?
Yeah.
And the people win. Their commitment to the business is bigger. In the Notion, there were three decisions, right? Complete success, zero cost, move it over. In between, move only the best people. Or number three, move the whole thing. And I think short-term human means long-term success.
Yeah, brilliant, Rasmus. I love the way you're framing it, and the examples exactly the kind of thing I'm thinking about with the compassion, the human side leading to success. And then there's a temporal aspect there about whether we're making short-term decisions that we're going to regret in the long term, or we're taking a hit in the short term because it's going to be worth it in the end. It's a perfect example of some of the decisions that we have to make, and whether we do take the time to assess them and weigh them up properly. Really good, Rasmus.
And each of those three examples, it could also have gone wrong, right? There's no guarantee because you chose the human, that was the better option, or the success one, that's the one that will go right. You have to make a judgment call. But if you can contextualize it in success versus human, and you know which side you're on. I mean, sometimes you can also say lack of success leads to lack of the human part, because that's when you part ways with people because the business is not performing. That's mostly where people will go and argue that, hey, management didn't do enough and all of those kind of things. But that's because the common success that we agreed to create, we didn't create. Whether it was sales not selling enough, whether it was us not collecting money, product was not up to par, the CEO made crazy decisions, then there are all kinds of different rationales for it. But you need to contextualize it in those two buckets.
Yeah, really good, Rasmus. You've given me a lot to think about, and I know the audience as well. I want to now follow my curiosity on something else. And for the people watching the video podcast, you're going to see something on Rasmus's title here. So he's the CEO of Zensai, but he's also got this LMS 365 against his name. Tell us what LMS 365 is.
That's what we used to be. So for the longest time of the story of this company, we built a learning platform into Microsoft 365. And that's been the success. That's been the underpinning of the success. That's been the scaling success. We just had our logo again on the main stage of Ignite when Satya Nadella goes on stage and stuff like that. So that's been our bread and butter. But as I talk about, when you want people to perform at their best, you need to set an ambition that's not just let's go sell tomatoes in a can, to people who want to buy tomatoes in a can. And we wanted to change the category. We really want that when I'm done here, or we are done here, that every single department name of human resources is called human success. We also have a financial goal of reaching 100 million by 2028. But mostly I'll be happy if we change the human resources part to human success. And in that goal, we added more products to the company, and we also felt that the company then needed a more inspirational name, more international, more high-flying, ability to embrace more products within the product suite. We used to, 2 years ago we had one product, now we have 6. We didn't have any AI underpinnings, we have that now. So the business has evolved. We're no longer a single point solution, we're a suite solution, all those kind of things. And again, with setting lofty goals, we just tell people success looks like, and the weird thing is when I came in as a CEO 2.5 years ago, I told everyone, we want to go from Aarhus, which is the founding origin of the company, to unicorn. And everyone looked at me and went, he just came back from Silicon Valley. I'm sure he didn't drink something weird. But everyone kind of locked in and said, hey, we want to be part of this. This sounds like interesting. We think we can do this. And what then happened is that then you start questioning yourself, is this something we can actually do? And I've given people the example that 4% of businesses make it to $1 million that are ever founded, make it to $1 million in annual recurring revenue. 0.1% make it to 10, and 0.04 make it to 100. That's, by the way, the same as asking you as a casual runner whether you would be competing in the Olympic marathon. Most people would say no to that. But here they said like, hey, we believe we can do this. And then we've just piled on. We were good at selling the product we had. We were good at then upgrading the vision. We acquired some companies to make sure that we could augment the vision. We sell globally today. And then also upgraded with human success. We said that out loud in front of our board a year and a little bit ago. And as of last week, Gartner comes back and tells us, hey, you're a cool vendor because we've made them rethink how they think about human resources and the HR domain for the future. That's how we've become a cool vendor when you're as small as we are. When you're not Atlassian or Airbnb or Dropbox or HubSpot or the other ones who are cool vendors. And started to use the same phrase. So now everyone can start seeing, oh, this might actually be happening, and the crazy rhetoric that we're using here and the lofty ambition and might actually happen. And then to see everyone's motivation to come to work to do it even better. And then now you go, hey, okay, now I feel like I'm moving. I feel we're moving in the right direction. Amplifies how you want to contribute to the company. And let me put it this way: if we just wanted to scale a learning platform, we should have stayed with the name LMS 365. It's a costly event to change your name, your branding, everything like that. But that was never the ambition. And again, setting ambition for people, telling them what. Now I'm in Denmark, so telling them what Rome looks like, and that's where you want to be going, and you want to be sitting there, and you want to be eating fried artichokes in the Jewish quarters or whatever have you. And you can almost smell it, and you can see the old buildings and all that, and everyone goes, I want to go there, I want to go there. And then you go, yeah, there's some highways through Germany, there's some mountains and all of that. They will find their way through. You need to tell them that there are dangers on the way. There will be Germans in Audis at 200 kilometers an hour, and there might be snow in the Alps, and the Italians are they're the craziest drivers in Europe, and you need to contend with that, and traffic through Milan, or all of those types of things. But the team will find their way through that because they can already feel like, oh, I'm sitting there. We have snow and gray and gloom in Denmark right now, so I'll be sitting there in the sun and sipping a good red wine and enjoying and seeing the people walk by. It's the same. That's what you've set with human success. You set the goal for the journey that we all committed to each other. As long as we can see that, we will also show up in the best possible way we can.
Yeah, really good, Rasmus. So I love the pivot. I love the new company name, and I love this framing of human success. It's really good. And by the way, you're living by it because you renamed your own, I'm going to use that word for a moment, that your own head of HR to be the chief human success officer. You're living and breathing it. You're not just telling others. I love that.
You know that we did the craziest LinkedIn stunt. LinkedIn doesn't gate your title change. So this January, we had everyone in Portugal for an offsite. And we literally went on stage and asked everyone to change their title to Chief Human Success Officer. So all 200 people in the company did that. Yeah. And all of our networks got spammed with 200 people that went, Rasmus is now the Chief Human Success Officer, Robin is now, Jacob is now, Nina is now, so forth, just to see how far reach it could get. So we're waiting that the revolution start, and we'll keep pushing, and that's the...
Yeah, the other two things I love there, when you're painting that vision, you're painting the vision of what's at the end of the journey, but you're also having an honest and transparent conversation about what's going to be ahead of us on the journey. And people will find a way. They'll navigate around the obstacles, but you're being open with them about what obstacles might be in the way. The second part I love, so you set a lofty vision, but you also, there was part of it in there that was very much an impact-driven vision. Like one of the things that you said as part of the narrative was, imagine if every company in the world ditched the term HR manager and replaced it with Chief Human Success Officer. That's an impact-driven vision, not just we want to be a $100 million company. We want to change the world, because when we have human success at the center of it, guess what? People will start falling in love with their jobs again, Rasmus. You mentioned before about the engagement studies, and once again, whether it's Gallup or McKinsey or anyone else, the numbers are atrocious. Imagine a world where people fall in love with their jobs again because it's around this element of human success. And by the way, when they have an environment where they're learning, where they're performing, where they're engaged, they're going to do their very best work. They're not just going to enjoy their job again, they're also going to do their very best work. I think it's very visionary, Rasmus. So thank you for sharing this with us today. I'd like to take us now to a rapid round. So these are the same 4 questions that we ask all of our guests. So what's the one thing you know now, Rasmus Holst, that you wish you knew when you were 20?
Patience. I'm naturally impatient. I've made all of the early career mistakes of yelling at my bosses for not thinking that this was going fast enough, and been told to sit down and all of those kind of things. So patience is one, and understanding is the other one, of who's next to you. Is actually not understanding of the subject. I've been lucky enough that as a very stern CEO, I know this will be a little bit longer than a rapid round, but a very stern CEO took me and told me, I sat at the top helm of product, I ran product, I was the king, requirements in, all of those types of things. And the CEO came and said to me, I don't like what you're doing. And I went like, I know that if I look around the team, I'm definitely not bottom 10%. And he went like, no, you've never carried the bag. You've never sold anything. I hate your business cases. And if we were a public company, what you do would harm us. And by the way, on Monday, you start in sales and here's your region. And I went like, what? I went, is there no option? And he went, nope. And by the way, sales reviews on Tuesday. And did my first sales review. All the usual terrible mistakes. I called my budget and he picked the whole thing apart and went like, you're crap at this. Go do this again. Thursday is their next sales review. Got better. I eventually moved back into product. But let's be honest, that taught me a lesson. He was, as a leader, not human success. He was very stern. He was very direct. It was to the point where everything was meticulous. If you showed up with anything that was below a 2 me back to any customer meetings, he was going like, you're not representing the business and stuff like that. It's a very different leadership style. But I will say that the leadership team he had, of the 6 of us, 1 has his own venture fund today. And we have 4 CEOs, and the CTO has stayed as CTO. So it was a different way of actually pushing you. But that's the understanding, and I'm so lucky that I'm here today, having run engineering organizations, product organizations, sales organizations, marketing organizations. It took me to my 50th year to become a CEO. This is my first CEO job. But I felt that when I said yes to it, I understand everyone around me. And therefore, I am confident enough to be number 2. So understanding of who's next to you and patience.
Very good. Thank you for sharing your story along the way of reinforcing that message. I really liked it. What's your favorite book?
So the one that has most profound impact on me was actually 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And it was not the whole book. It was a little scheme, which essentially says you have in your life between 5 and 7 roles. Describe those. And they include your family. They include you as an athlete or whatever you want to be. Include you as they describe yourself as a mentor, and you can only take 10 things you can focus on a weekday in a week. Write the weekday headlines at the top and put in the 10 things you want to focus on for this week. This has been with me since nearly 20 years, and it's still the way I map out my week. Because I'm naturally impatient, I'm high energy, I'm all of those kind of things, and I'm easily, because I think I can contribute a lot of places, I'm easily drawn to things. And this keeps me honest, and it keeps me honest with my family as well. Because otherwise I could literally get lost in translation with what I do at work. And for that reason, especially the last one, this has been my most important tool. And it's in the beginning, it was a sheet of paper and I printed it out and I wrote down. And now it's more, it's just a notepad. It's not, at some point there was a plugin for the calendar. Never learned to use that. It's just my notepad is organized that way. And I know how I deal with it. Right now I'm reading a lot about AI and how that's going to impact us and all those kind of things. But as the most profound impact, that's the one.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you. You can see how much it means to you, and you can see how it's impacted pretty much your daily and weekly habits and living by it. Yeah, really good, Rasmus. What's your favorite quote?
Actually, the one we use the most is the Richard Branson one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it is. So it's actually it's so crazy that we've not talked about this before.
Yeah.
But the two quotes we use to describe human success is essentially the Simon Sinek one and the one that if you take care of your employees, they will take care of your customers for you by Richard Branson. So those definitely get near and dear to my heart in business.
All right. So people listening, you may not believe this. That was completely unscripted.
That was unscripted.
We accidentally fell into that, but that's really good.
And then I think if we stay out of that and take a different one, I'm not sure it's a quote, but it's a way of phrasing how well you did. It's actually the success, because again, success is a heart master. And we have this Danish cyclist who won Tour de France twice, Jonas Vingegaard. And the one thing that he always does, he's a very shy person. He doesn't make a lot of noise like some of the other riders, but he did win twice. And whenever they asked him, he always said, I did my best, and I know I did my best. If he got beaten, that's what it is. The other ones were better. If he wins by a huge margin, he also knows he did his best. And for me, that's what I try to live by. If I know that I showed up that day and did my best, if competition outcompeted me, hey, so be it. If my son outran me on our run, which he does every time, I know I did my best to try and keep up for as long as I possibly could. I tried my best at home to be a good dad. And if that's the way you can live your life by, and that's your own measure of success, there's nothing that's outside that can make the boat tip for you.
I think that's where true fulfillment and success can come from, instead of the external validation. Being proud that you did your best and know that you did everything you possibly could to get the best possible result, and that you'll show up again tomorrow and try your best again.
You can control the effort, and you can control the level of perfection you accept as your output, but you can't control the outcome. That might be, if I looked at this business and said, oh, we want to be a $100 million and a unicorn, so $1 billion valuation, just give me valuations from 2021. There were companies getting we passed the 30 million mark. There were companies getting sold at 30x ARR. We would have been there, but I can't get that back, and I can't control that. The fact that we traded are different. I can show up every day. The team can show up, and we can build the best business we possibly can. If the valuation is something we strive for and measure ourselves against, we'll fail because that's dictated by something else.
Yeah, brilliant, Rasmus. Now, there's going to be people that have been enthralled by this conversation around human success and everything we've been talking about, and they're probably interested in Zensai and potentially even LMS 365 as a building block within that. How do people find you if they want to continue this conversation and continue this journey?
They will find a lot of stuff on LinkedIn. Just look Rasmus Holst up. I think I will be the first hit on that one. And otherwise, go to zensai.com, zensai.com, and there's all of the stories, essentially, of what we build. Otherwise, a great recommendation is my chief business officer, Robin Daniels. He's our evangelist. Follow him on LinkedIn. There's also way good content. There's way good information about how to deploy this type of thinking in your everyday life, in your leadership, and in your business.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Rasmus. I've thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. You've given me a lot to think about as to how I'm going to reframe this words around human success. Everything you said are things that I believe in, but I love the way that you framed it. It gives me something that I can go and reframe the way that I work with my team. And am I investing in their success, and in return getting the business success that I want, and balancing all of this? I absolutely loved it. I feel wiser for this conversation, and I know that the audience will as well. So thank you so much for your time and for sharing your wisdom and insights today.
Thanks for a great conversation, and thanks for contributing to it. I think we both showed up here, and that's what makes it enjoyable.
Wow, what a great conversation. Rasmus Holst brought us so much depth and perspective to what it means to lead with purpose and empower human success. From his global experiences to his innovative work with Zensai, his insights challenges us to think differently about human resources, about growth, about performance, about connection. As you reflect on today's episode, ask yourself, what can you do to create an environment where your people feel empowered to learn, perform, and engage, and to work at their best? Leadership isn't about systems or processes. It's about unlocking the potential in others. In the next episode, it will be a solo cast where I go a little deeper and share my own reflections on everything we heard from Rasmus today about succeeding through our people, not at the expense of our people, and how we set our people up for success. When our people are successful, our clients are successful, and the business is successful. If you're getting great value from our content, we would love it if you would leave us a rating or a review on Apple Podcast or your preferred podcast service. You can also subscribe to the Leadership Project YouTube channel, where we bring you video podcasts, weekly curated videos, and our live stream shows, all designed to help you become the leader that you wish you always had. Thank you for listening to the Leadership Project at mixbeers.com. A huge call out to Faris Sadek for his video editing of all of our video content, and to all of the team at TLP. Joanne Goes On, Gerald Calabo, and my amazing wife, Say Spears. I could not do this show without you. Don't forget to subscribe to the Leadership Project YouTube channel, where we bring you interesting videos each and every week. And you can follow us on social, particularly on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Now, in the meantime, please do take care, look out for each other, and join us on this journey as we learn together and lead together.